You may be wondering, how can I fix my button-up shirt or my husband's button-up shirt with a button that just fell off? So basically what everyone would want is that a button would be able to be fixed on an item, like a shirt, which is very commonly the case, without it falling off again. So what I will be showing you today is how to sew on your buttons onto your garments. And for this first example, I will show you how to sew it back onto your shirt, nice and strongly, so that it will not fall off again. Of course, you will need your button, your needle, and your thread. So I chose a thread that was very similar to the fabric of the garment. So in this case, it was like a gray bluish. Those I obviously find the best. But of course, you can also just pick the color that all the other buttons are. Like this one is brown, but I did not have a brown on me right now, so I just went for the color of the fabric of the shirt. Thread your needle. In this case, I would recommend using double the strength of the thread, which means times 2, as you see here, 2 strands, and then tying a knot at the end, so that basically we're working with 2 strands and not with 1. So after you have that, I would also recommend you can either use a really strong kind of thread, a thicker one, a stronger one, or you can wax this one with beeswax, or you can just do this with your nails. Basically, you just want to get all the fuzz off. It's basically to help avoid any knots from happening with the thread. Just do it a few times, and then you are ready to start. On a t-shirt, you would typically like to find this spot where the button was before, which is this right here. I can just see it fell off here because the fabric is a bit worn off. You would want to start from the bottom. So from the bottom side, which is like the inside of the garment, you will poke through right in the middle. And because of the knot, it will stay in place. Next, what I like to do is I like to just like secure it here, because you don't always know the strength of the fabric. So the more you knot, I wouldn't, of course, not overdo it, but if you double knot right here, it just brings more strength and security. Next, I will pick up my button and I will poke through any of the holes like this. I like to always hold my finger in between the fabric and the button, just because it just gives me a good distance, because otherwise it's gonna just like be flimsy and fall around, and if you just don't know how to hold it, and it'll just do this. So I like to hold it in place. It's like you have a really good control over what you're doing. Then we basically want to do like a cross, so over this way and then over that way afterwards. So as I start here, I will go into the opposite hole, and then I will poke in right in the same spot that I came out of at first. Exact same spot. I would not recommend doing it on the sides or whatnot. You would like to really keep it in the same spot, because we will be building a little neck for the button now. So now you see it has a little neck right here. So I'm going to try hold this in place with my fingers. I do not want the neck to be longer than this, and you also don't want it to be stuck to the fabric like that. You do want to hold a neck. So now what I will do is, from the same spot down here, underneath, from the same spot, I will poke through again and come out on one of the other holes. So I can do the other side of the button hole, and then cross through diagonally again and poke in to the center of where we are poking our needle. The same spot, always. Now with my fingers, I'm holding it in place right here. Now I have to obviously observe the little neck that I have going on. In my opinion, this is pretty okay. So since it's double threaded, I will go up and down, I think 2 times. I think that should be enough. You have to obviously see with the strength of your thread but since it's already doubled, 2 times will be enough for me. So now I will double check here where I came out last. I did these, which means I will do this one again. Here and here. I have to see where I have to poke in. And poke. Again. Hold it in place. Make sure the button is not getting strapped down flat. I will find my hole again to come poke out. And now I'll poke into the other side, which is this one, diagonally, and then I will come down and poke through the middle again. So that part I have completed to make sure it's nice and strong. We don't want this falling off again. Now the next part is I will poke through the center bottom here again. I will come out on the side of the button like this. And now with my holding my thumb down here, right underneath, and my finger here to secure it, I will take my thread and I will wrap it around tightly. The average, people say, is around 7 times. 5, 6, 7. When you've done that, you'll see you literally have this neck here, and that is super strong now. What I do is I circulate it like that, and then flip it over like that, and pull. So that has just given me a knot around the entire neck. So now that is secured, that will not fall out of place. So next is just finalizing the stitch. So from the center here, I will poke back underneath to the back side. You can obviously, you can knot it 2-3 times here, but I believe that for the shirt this is enough. You also don't want it to be over the top as well, otherwise then it'll be too thick. Down here, then what I will do is I will just catch the threads and I will give it a couple knots in the bottom to secure it super well. And then 1, 2, let's do one more just to be sure. Make sure you do it in the middle of the pile because it'll be firmer and not outside on the fabric. Voila. So then what I like to do is to go with my needle through the middle of the 2 fabric layers. So you do not see that thread right now. And then at this point here, snip it, and that's it. Your button is now secured. This is a machine stitched button, so just so you can see the difference. It's literally looks a bit flimsy, you know, it's just stuck on here. And the one we just sewed on, so this is quite the bespoke way to sew on a button, but now I've sewed it on and it's got that little head. That is secure, that will not fall off. All right, that's how you sew on a button for a shirt. So here I would also like to show how to sew on a shank button. This one's got fabric covered on top, so it's technically called a fabric covered button, but the type of button is a shank button. So what you will need is the actual button, and again your needle and your thread. For this demonstration I will be using white thread just so that you can see it on the garment, and white will also fit with the polka dots. Now we'll do the same thing as before with the other fixed button. I will pull it here, or you can just use beeswax. I will also use double threaded thread and make a knot right here. So to start, I will look at where my button was, and I can see here that there's a hole and a little bit of worn out fabric, so that was probably the spot where the button was. I will start from the back side again. I will poke through. There. Now I can already, since it's very firm, this was a very firm knot, in my opinion, I do not need to double knot on the top here. So I will directly go to my button. In this case, it's only got one hole. So we're just going to go through and we're going to go all the way back down here, poke through. Now with this button, you will not be creating a neck because it technically has its neck already, this type of button. So I just went down one way, and now poking through the end here, I will poke out again, and I will repeat this. I will go through the hole and back down the same spot. I will repeat this around 4 times, depending on the thickness of your thread. Sometimes if it's a very strong thread, you can do 2 to 3. If it's thinner, you do more. You just have to feel it quite comfortable and firm, because you do want this to last. So I will keep on repeating this. And you'll already see it's already quite secure actually. But of course, we're just going to secure it a bit more. And you can pull this time. You can really pull like that. And I will do it one last time. You see now that came out too far. You don't want that. You want it to come out really on the same spot as the other ones. There. And poke through. And back out. So I will poke back down now, and then when I come up one last time, I will now circulate the button as well, but it will circulate more at the bottom to hold it pretty firm, and I will do that also around like 5-6 times until you get a good feeling that it's secure. So now I have a look and I see, okay, that's pretty secure. That's not moving very much. So now I will do the same thing as I did before with the other button, is where I will flip it over here and then here again. Basically, I'm making a knot and I will pull like that. So it looks like that now. You can see all the threads there, and that is secure. So now all I have to do is I just have to close it up, which I will do it on the back side. Poke back through. And now I will just double knot it, and then that is basically how you sew on a shank button or a covered up button, fabric covered button, sorry. There you go, and I also like to go through the fabric here, through the 2 layers of fabric to come out. Snip, and that's it. Now you have your buttons back on and secure. Then I can close it up.